tuning in. Those of you that's watching on my personal Facebook page, you can also watch on my business page at facebook.com/Sean J. All right, so today is Wednesday and it is noon.
Yes.
I'm excited about today. I'm excited to be sitting here with Miss Victoria, Miss Tori. Oh my goodness, I met her. What was like 2 weeks ago? Maybe
well,
3.
We met online about a month ago, and then you came to the event about 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and so when I saw her 2 weeks ago at your event, I just had to have you here. So I just really want to thank you for being
here.
Thanks
for having me.
I've had a moment to listen to some of her story, and she's remarkable. I mean, she has to be amazing if she's sitting here with me, right? There's something about her that I definitely want everyone to hear, so that you all can move from that pain to that power. So, just introduce yourself for a moment.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I definitely was surprised, to say the least, when you asked for me to be on the show. And I think that's something that most of us kind of feel. We go through these experiences, but to think that someone would actually want to hear it was like, what? But okay. So my name is Tori Rose, Victoria Rose. I go by Tori Rose. I am the founder of THEO, LLC, and THEO stands for Together Helping Each Other Overcome. And it's hilarious to think that 33 years ago, when God decided to let me grace this earth, that was the purpose for me, THEO, to be a part of helping others overcome. I am a Baltimore native, born and raised there. All the way from Baltimore. We make it seem like it's a 7-hour drive.
I know. It seems like it's a whole other planet.
My goodness, whole other world. But yes, all the way from Baltimore. I am a single parent, single mom of a wonderful son, 8-year-old, my Joshua, my prince. I am currently a student at Towson State University, so I'm working on a dual degree, my second bachelor's and master's in psychology. So that's kind of who I am in a nutshell. Again, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Okay, so Tori is definitely doing a lot of things in the community, but what I am noticing that in every woman that stands up and is trying to make a difference in the lives of others is because she went through something in her life. So I definitely you have power all over you. You can see it, your stance when you speak it's just power. So, but I know that you didn't get to this point in life just because you just woke up one day and said, I'm here.
Right. I woke up like this. Right. No, most certainly did not.
So, you shared a little bit with me, your testimony, and I just want you to take a moment to share with everyone else your testimony. The beginning, what brought you to this place of power? What was your pain?
Got it. So, how long is the show?
It's 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay, so that means that, I'll give you guys the abbreviated version. And to get started, I want to just kind of look at the terms like from pain to power. My life was from pain to power, from power to purpose, from purpose to passion, from passion back to purpose. What happens is, I know.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, and let me tell you, I'm gonna throw another P in there. That pain sometimes comes back. When you fall off your purpose and you forget your passion, you will find yourself being thrust right back into pain.
Absolutely.
And that's why, in our 20s and our 30s and our 40s, sometimes it seems like we are still very much encountering similar situations. And I don't know if you've ever been in a place where you say, I'm too old for this. And not this, I'm too old for this. What is this? So I have a story of going from pain to power, from power to passion, from passion to purpose, from purpose back to passion. And every now and then we go back to pain. That pain keeps us motivated. That pain keeps us pressing. That pain keeps us moving forward. I did share with Sean, I was raised in the inner city of Baltimore by my grandparents. So both of my parents were very young when I was born. And just to be honest, like many of us, not ready to be parents. My father was abusive to my mom when she was pregnant with me. And I think that really just changed how she felt about having a child and having a child with someone that she knew she was not going to be supported by. I found myself being raised by my grandparents, and much like most people's childhoods, when you have that level of foundation, it creates a falsehood, a sense of security. I look at my 8-year-old, and he'll get in the back of my car and go to sleep and just trust. He's trusting that mommy's not going to allow anything to happen. He's trusting that we're going to drive from point A to point B and not have any interruptions, right? So much like a regular child, I had that trust. I trusted that my grandparents were going to live. I trusted that my grandparents were going to cover me and protect me. And one day in March of 1992, my grandmother died suddenly. And being the matriarch, it rocked our family. It left my grandfather in a way, a level of depression. And let's be honest, we don't deal with depression. We don't deal with mental illness in our family. But by 8 or 9, then I found myself having to be forced to spend time with a father that was abusive. So I found myself being beaten, being kicked, being dragged, being thrown in a bathroom against a shower rack, bruises at 11 and 12. And the manifestation of why am I here? I can remember being 11 and saying on my birthday, my father had kind of a violent fit. He went off over something that was so small. And I have a child. I understand it can take you there. But we have to be those parents that God has called us to be. He never learned how to be that. So he went into a violent fit, and he decided he was going to take that violence out on an 80-pound little child. And I can remember having my first thought of suicide. Like, God, this can't be life. Because again, I grew up in a loving home, right? Grandparents who loved me, I got to play in the streets of Baltimore and have fun. Now I'm being beat up on, and I don't know who to talk to about it. I don't know how to address it. I don't know, what did I do to deserve this? See, the enemy wants us to internalize, even in our youth. He wants us to feel that it's something that we've done. There's something that we've not done enough of, So at 11 years old, I found myself saying, if I could just be good, if I could just be better, if I could just have listened the first time, this would not happen again. And what I realized I developed was a people-pleasing personality. So those are P's. People-pleasing personality. Me and my P's, right? Because in that pain, if I could please you, then the pain wouldn't be as frequent, or so I thought. But an abuser is going to be an abuser. Has nothing to do with you. So as a little girl, and many of us have gotten to a place where we want to excuse the behavior of the abuser. We want to justify it. We want to give them a reason. Oh, he was tired, or work was stressful. I should have. So at 11 and 12, I started carrying that. I should have known not to leave the trash in the kitchen. Childhood things. It had gotten so bad that by 12, I was depressed. My father had taken me to different states. He had lied about my mom being deceased. So everybody in the school system where I was attending thought my mother didn't exist.
And also that he took you from where you were.
Yes.
He didn't.
Right. Yeah.
It was abruptly.
So you come in like a thief in the night.
Right.
So we start to see presence of the enemy. Because even though I don't believe my father himself is Satan, I do know that the enemy will use those closest to us to break us. So being away from my family, being away from my comfort zone.
Or what they think is breaking us.
Or what they think.
Sometimes it's really to strengthen us.
Come on. And it's always to, if you look at how God does things, he will prune away those areas that are dead. He will prune away those areas in which are weak. And what I know now was everything I went through, even being misplaced and having to, go through the court system, because one day he beat me so bad that the schools noticed, and CPS was called, and the police were called, and now you have exposure. No one wants to feel vulnerable. No one wants to, especially as a child, because you don't know what's going to happen. This is a man who was able to take me from loving, safe relatives and take me wherever he wanted to take me. He was affluent. He spoke well. He had a great job. Why do I not believe that he's going to come get me and kill me? Why would I not believe that? Because that was what was spoken. If you say this, you're going to pay. If you tell what's happening, I'm going to not only kill you, I'm going to kill your mother. And at the time, my mother was pregnant with one of my younger sisters. So here I am now trying to figure out how to continue to people please, how to just cover it up. It's September and I'm wearing long sleeve shirts. See, I'm carrying an adult burden as a child.
Right.
And we don't always understand that that is a ripple effect. I thank God for God. I thank God for keeping me. Today we're watching children kill themselves, we're watching children have depression and be suicidal. And even though I wanted to just die, Sean, I just wanted to die. Like, God, this can't be life. This can't be life. And I heard God very clearly just tell me to wait and trust in him. He delivered me from that. But what it started then was a ripple effect, because I did not have purpose. I did not know why I was there, or why was God allowing me to go from now being abused to into a situation with my mom's house and her family where I didn't feel like I belonged.
So just so that everybody is caught up. So after you went through the ordeal with your dad,
Mm-hmm.
the court systems got involved.
Yep.
And then they put you in the home with your mother.
Yes, who was very much alive.
Who was very much alive.
Very much alive. And
then,
yeah, so then it was like, what does life look like here? Because my mother, even though she was young, she's always known God. What I didn't know was that she and my godmother were touching and agreeing, praying. See, people think that you have to have your life all the way in order. You have to be, this picturesque person to go to God. No. She didn't know every scripture, every hymn. She wasn't sitting under the covering of a mega church, but she knew to pray.
right.
And God answered those prayers. But then we pray and then we leave it there. There needed to be some additional reinforcement. So at 13, I was placed in my mom's care full time. It was the first time I ever lived with my mother. So I come in with my own experiences, right? My own hurts, my own pain. My mother's pregnant. She's about to have my sister. She's newly about to be married. That's a dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I had been very distrusting of men at that time because my grandfather, who I love dearly, let my father take me. That's how I felt. Not understanding that my grandfather was sickly and that legally there was nothing he could do. So you have this image of these two men, one that's supposed to protect you, one that's supposed to cover you, your grandfather and your father. They both have let you down. What do you do?
Right.
There was no way I was going to let my mother's husband in, even if he was the epitome of fatherness. No,
Yeah.
my heart was cold because I had been hurt, I had been left, and I had been abused. My grandfather ended up passing away 2 days before my birthday. And I remember saying to myself, God, do you hate me?
Mm-hmm.
How? Everybody I love, and I'm watching my friends, they have their mothers and their fathers. I'm watching my friends able to go to sleep at night without shivering and thinking that someone's coming to beat on them. That pain was so deep-rooted. So at 16, just with different things that were going on with my mom and her husband, and my mom is now pregnant again with my baby sister. So now I have two younger sisters, right? I found myself homeless. If you can't live the law of the land, you got to go.
Right.
16. I decided then I was not going to be a victim. But see, this is how the enemy does things. That Delilah's spirit came in. So I'm going to work you before you work me.
Yes.
You understand? Because I'm from Baltimore, and one thing we are is crafty and creative, and we're thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm dating older guys. I need a ride to work. I need to be picked up from work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that might be two different rides.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, because in my mind, I have control.
Right.
But don't you know, I was fooling myself.
Yes.
I wasn't in control.
No.
I wasn't in control at all.
No, it was not.
And it was not what God called me to be.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm doing a little bit of everything. I'm out in the world. I'm getting money however I got to get it. And I'm still going to school every day. I went to Western High School.
Oh, Tori, I just want to pause you for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there's so many young girls that think
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that they're in control of the situation.
Yeah.
So I just want to just take a moment, just right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in that place,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, okay, well, I got control. Nobody else is going to do this to me because,
Mm-hmm.
it's not control.
No.
And I don't know who this is for right now, but I
Mhm.
want you to know it's not control. Control is being able to keep your legs closed.
Yeah.
That's control.
Yeah.
Control is being able to say no and mean it.
Mm-hmm.
That's control.
That's right.
Control is getting up, working a 9 to 5 to take care of your own self.
Yeah.
That's control.
Yeah.
Being out here using a man to do this or using a man to do that or using a woman to do this or using a woman to that, that's not control.
It's not.
And I want you all to get to the root of the problem.
Yes.
There's a problem going on there that is causing you to feel and act out, because that's what it is. It's just acting out.
Yeah.
You're acting out because you've been hurt. You're acting out because you've been abused.
Yeah.
Mentally, you're just damaged.
Yeah.
So you build up these guards and nothing. You can feel nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah. That's good, Sean. That's good.
It's just temporary, though.
It is. and I had someone tell me one day, I was probably 17, and this lady said to me, she said, and she was really no one. You know, we have all these people in the Bible that don't have names. We say, well, who was that person? A man from such and such. This was a woman from such and such. You understand? A woman from Lexington Terrace, like a woman from such and such. She said, you're the biggest fool in the room. You think you're fooling everybody, but you're the biggest fool in the room because you bought your stuff first. So I was believing my stuff first. I was believing that it was not affecting me. I was believing that I could be in this relationship with you, texting you, on AOL with you, emotionally unavailable to everyone, and it wasn't affecting anyone because my little cell phone bill, my beeper, remember we had pagers, my pager bill was paid for a year, you know, and I had gotten so good, and I feel you in the spirit because someone is saying, well, I'm not having sex with them. It doesn't matter because you're still pimping yourself out. See, I had gotten so good that I wasn't having sex. I wasn't sleeping with everyone. I had a boyfriend, and I had convinced myself that I was going to be faithful physically to that boyfriend. But the 5 other men that were servicing my needs, I wasn't sleeping with them, so I'm not being unfaithful or untrue. I was fooling myself. I was the biggest fool in the room. So I appreciate you allowing the Spirit to use you because we manipulate our own minds first to buy into the lie, to buy into the theory, to tell ourselves that we are in control and that we have the power, but we don't. And the reason we do that is because being alone hurts. Having to face yourself in the morning hurts. I can tell you I went through a period that I graduated from Weston in 2002. My intention was to go to Clark Atlanta. I just shared with my cousin, you know, I went down there and I was starstruck. You know, this was the early 2000s where Luda was still on the radio, 112 would be walking through Lenox and you could just touch the celebrities. I met Usher and I'm at the Celebrity Max store down there and I'm thinking to myself, Lord, help me, because I felt like a stranger in a foreign land. My flesh liked it, but my spirit said, if you don't go home or get close to home, your life is going to end. I came home, I went to Bowie, and that's where I was. But I remembered not looking in the mirror for about a year. How can you love yourself, get dressed every morning, brush your teeth, wash your face, and not look in the mirror? I couldn't look at myself because I was too busy trying to convince myself that I didn't need anybody, not even myself. But God and people. What will happen is when you can be so broken that it's no different than if a tree outside were to fall. That tree is not going to call for help, but someone is going to notice that tree fall, that tree has fallen. That tree may be obstructing traffic, and someone is going to come to the aid of the tree. And that's what happened. I was broken, Sean. I was so nasty. My attitude, my personality was just nasty. And I'll never forget, I had someone at the Student Support Services at Bowie said to me one day, why are you so nasty? She called me out. And I said, because I want to be. But do you know that was the beginning of a mentorship that saved my life? Because she forced me to look at me. She forced me to identify things in myself that I liked. And there wasn't many. She said, write a list of the things you like. Write a list of the things you don't like. The like list was 2 or 3 items. The don't like list, no lie, was 24. I hated myself because I was the girl that allowed her father to beat her. I was the girl who allowed the relationship between my mother and myself and my sisters to be damaged. I was the girl that allowed my ex-boyfriend to be killed in a car accident. I had nothing to do with that. But I took it all on because historically, as African-American women, as minority women, we carry it. We take on the weight of everybody. I was the girl that at 17 found myself pregnant with an abusive boyfriend. That wasn't supposed to be me. So what did I do? I went to God. I ain't hear from him fast enough. I went to the clinic, okay? Am I proud of that? No. But that was a decision I had to make. It was a decision I made for my future. It was a decision I made selfishly. But I can tell you that when I look at my child, I think about that decision because life could have been different. There's nothing I can do about it. So when we talk about pain to power, in order to be empowered, you got to be honest.
Right.
Let's talk about being broken.
It's not the easiest thing to do.
No.
But it's so worth it.
And it's necessary.
Yes, it is.
How about this? You got to forgive others. So we talked about that. You got to forgive others.
Forgive a part right now. It's a little touchy for me.
Very much so. Well, let me tell you, they laugh at me because my team, my partner, they know I have a very weird way of looking at life, right? So my father, for instance, right? Let's say if my father was clinically diagnosed with Down syndrome, okay? If that was his clinical diagnosis, I would have a level of empathy or sympathy for him, and I would forgive most of the things he did. If my father had Tourette's, because it was labeled, I would say, oh, when he has these outbursts, I can forgive him. If he was a narcoleptic and fell asleep behind the wheel, I could forgive him. Well, how is that not the same as he has to have some type of mental illness? There has to be something wrong with him to think that every time your child has an issue, you meet it with anger. So what I do is I really deal with most people as if they've already been diagnosed. You got a diagnosis, it just ain't came through yet, honey. So it's easier for me to forgive you because I know there's something there, right? However you got to do it.
Sorry.
I'm being honest with you.
And I understand. Oh my goodness, I totally get it, because if somebody is out of character, there has to be a mental illness or
has to be something
going on with that person.
Yeah. People don't act like that. Is it a chemical imbalance? Is it a mental imbalance? Because if I could see what it was, if it was labeled and written on your chest, I would have empathy for it. But because it's never been labeled.
Because I don't want anybody to take away from this, like, okay, I gotta forgive because they got a mental illness.
Right? No. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
This is just my philosophy of handling when it comes down to forgiveness.
Yes. So I think if you take anything away, that there are coping mechanisms that we all use and that we all should tap into.
Yes.
But forgiveness for me is something that it takes time.
It does.
And even it's a process to forgive it. I prematurely forgave everybody.
Got it.
And so that put me into a place of more pain. I forgot to turn my phone on. Okay. I guess I got to get it. I'm all up in y'all face. That put me in a place of forgiving too early.
Yes.
And then having that ripple effect of now you got to revisit this thing over and over.
And that's not healthy. It's not healthy. Right.
So there has to be some kind of balance of forgiving.
So what I'm saying is the forgiveness of
someone. But I love your thought process.
But hear me out. The forgiveness of someone who's never going to ask for it. My father still today has never admitted what has happened.
Right.
Courts have documented it, pictures, but in his mind it never happened.
Right.
The hardest thing to do is forgive the person who's not going to ask for forgiveness. And we've heard even religious scholars, they say that, the word says if a person asks for forgiveness, you forgive them. So that if is contingent. That means if they don't ask, am I not supposed to forgive them? I don't know. It's not a Bible class. But what I'm saying is you have to, for healing, get to a place of forgiving, releasing them. And then let me tell you, Sean, the part is, then you got to come back to forgiving and releasing you. Because had I not gotten to a place where I said, there is nothing in my power that I could have done that would have warranted a different response from him. There was obviously a misfiring in the thought process in the brain of this person. I forgive you as if you have depression issues, as if you are narcissistic, as if you are a crazy Martian, whatever you have to say. I forgive you because if I don't forgive you, it will keep me bound. If I stay bound, I can't forgive myself. And every decision from this point forward will be contingent upon me still harboring that pain. Oh, the pain hurts. The pain hurts. I still handle people very, very, at arm's length. I'm going to be honest. I don't let my child go around him unsupervised. And that's something that he and I, we battle with, because I believe here we are 20 years later, he's having some health issues. He's older. He wants to be a part of his grandchild's life, but he has not proven. So I'm not saying forgive and be stupid.
Right.
There's all things in wisdom, right?
Right.
But at what point do you understand that God's purpose for your life has to be manifested one way or another? The word says if you don't use your gifts, they'll consume you. I was consumed in my anger. I was consumed in my distrust of people. I was consumed. And the root for me was I had a father that beat the crap out of me whenever he chose to, because that was what he wanted to do. It had nothing to do with me. I had a mother who I thought turned me over to him. I didn't like that. I didn't trust her. You could turn me over to him, but that's not what happened. And I thank God today for my mom and the fact that she and I are at a place where we've had to talk about it. Do you think she would have allowed her daughter to be abused if she knew? No, she didn't know.
Right.
And because I was so afraid, I didn't tell her. You understand what I mean? So,
and now your mom is here. She came out to the event.
She's at everything. She's my Pammy girl. She's amazing.
Pammy girl.
That's my Pammy girl. So
what is a Pammy girl?
That's her name.
Oh.
So my mom's name is Pam, and I call her Pammy, and she's my Pammy girl. What that means is I had to even understand that God had called us to have not only a mother-daughter relationship, but a friendship. And I fought against that friendship for years. And she'll tell you, I was always like, Pam, you're not my friend. You're not my friend. But who doesn't want to be friends with the person that brought them in this world?
Right.
Who doesn't want to be friends with the person who knows you? My mother can look at me across the room and tell when I'm upset. She knows my telltale signs. It's my Pammy girl, right? She's my ace spoon coon and my rock. But had I not forgiven her, had she not forgiven herself, and had she not forgiven me? Because at one point in life, I was nasty. I'm good. You good? I'm good. I don't have to talk to you. I went at least 2 years without talking to my mother. She's the only one I got. Now, I thank God for my adopted moms and those families that were put there to help me. Because let me just tell you, this wasn't done by me and me alone. God sends help. Remember that tree? I was a broken tree. He sent help. So I never will say that I went through this situation on my own. But what I will say was I was never alone because he was with me. So a lot of what I do when I talk to the youth and I go out in the community, we got to figure out what's the root. Even you forgave too prematurely because you are a pacifier. You are a people pleaser. You don't like levels of conflict, right?
Not at all.
So, and I'm peace. Right, peace, be still. But now what happens is we think about things. We say, well, God's not going to put more on me than I can bear. But you have to ask yourself, did God put this on you? Or did you put it on you? Because if it's wearing you out, it might not have been God's sign, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to start identifying how the thing came to us. Who sent it? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying go around just, they beat me down and I forgive you. No. There's a process. Like they say, it's a 12 steps. That anger, that in the middle of the night thinking about going over there and keying their mama's car. I've been there. But you got to get to a point where you understand that purpose is still so much more important than that pain. So all of us are fueled by different things, right? My fuel is, how do I bring attention? How do I bring light to a situation that should never have to happen to anyone? I walked through the walls of Western and not one counselor knew that I was being abused. Not one counselor knew I was homeless. And my girlfriend is currently the principal of the school, and she and I, we talk all the time about that. There are girls in here that are hurting. They don't feel like they can come to us because they don't think we've ever been through anything. They see us made up, and many of us are still going through something made up. But you got to make up your mind that you're going to look like the epitome of the truth of who you are and what you are. What you thinking?
That you're amazing.
Listen, Sean, I can talk to you about this all day.
You're absolutely amazing. So we talked about the pain. Mm-hmm. I want to get to the power. Tell everyone who you are today and the things that you're doing today that is making an impact, not just in other people's lives, but making an impact also, because before we can be a blessing to anybody else, our first ministry needs to be ourselves.
I agree.
So what are you doing?
So today, I'm a servant. When I realized that my purpose was greater than me, that everything that I did, I operate as Tori Rose the Connector, connecting entrepreneurs to other entrepreneurs and business owners to each other and investors to entrepreneurs. I'm a servant before anything else. So my daily prayer is, God, let me be effective in the earth. Let me have an impact in the earth, and let me do no harm. Because the reality is we get so busy sometimes just trying to look busy. We get busy trying to look wealthy. We get busy trying to look all of these things that really matter nothing if you're not serving someone else. Now, that's my philosophy, right? Because what I understand is as long as I continue to serve God's people, he's going to add unto me. I'm 33 years old. I've been in the federal government for 10 years. I've moved 8 or 9 times in those 10 years. And people say, how did you do it? By staying faithful and serving others. I walked in 23 years old, 3 weeks outside of college. I got people who I know who have tried 10 years just to get in. But he opened the door for me, and he wanted to know, could I be humble enough to do the hard work? Because the reality is you're not going to be able to bless anybody else. You're not going to be able to bless yourself. You're not going to be able to move and grow if you don't work. It's work. It's hard work to forgive. It's hard work to separate yourself from certain situations, from certain people, from certain comforts, from certain relationships that gave you a sense of security. It's hard work. So when God called me to be a servant, I said, Lord, well, I need you to show me what that means. Because I don't even like people. Let me just be real, okay? My personality, people think I'm just this warm and bubbly and fuzzy. The person that you guys see today is wrapped in his grace. That's why I can come and sit with people and talk and really connect to them, because it's not about me. Tori in her nature is not necessarily friendly. But through the grace of God, he says, go have a heart for my people. So you ain't got to be the friendliest person. I don't have to act like Sean. I don't have to act like Kiana. I don't have to act like anyone else. I just have to be me. And power comes from letting go. You understand? So what I'm doing today is affecting the earth as positively as I can. Kiana and I are preparing for a citywide networking event. I'm grateful that Western High is allowing us to host it there. We're still working out some of the details and the kinks, but what I realized, especially in Baltimore, there's Western, there's City, there's Poly, there's Dunbar, Douglas. There's some schools that the expectation is these people are going to be okay. They're going to graduate. They're going to be okay. There's some other schools that people just don't even pour into. Right. But those girls, those boys, they're just as important. There's a Barack Obama sitting in one of those classrooms. They need to see us and they need to hear us. So everything that we're doing right now, not only for entrepreneurs, is for the children. How do I go back into the community and say, you don't have to have that dope dealer boyfriend, or you don't have to be a dope dealer. You don't have to. I had a little boy come to me at one of the exit interviews in May at a school I was speaking at, and he said, I just want to play ball, because if I don't play ball, I'm going to sell drugs. He said, but if I sell drugs, I know I'm going to get murdered, because all 3 of my brothers have already been murdered. 17 years old. His only options in his world, he felt, were ball or murdered, ball or death, ball or drugs. That is our responsibility, to go in the community and say, let me show you a different way out. When you look at what our counterparts do, they go, they get their education, they come back. They go, they get their wealth, they come back. When you look at what we do, we go get it and we move out. Where is the comeback, the pull up? Maya Angelou says, if we know better, we do better. Well, somebody obviously don't know better, because we're not doing better. And it's our responsibility. My son is 8 years old. And when I look at my son and I say to him, the world can't have you, he thinks I'm crazy. He'll get it. I got 4 godsons. The world can't have them. So yes, the empowerment with me is affirmations, being a good person, speaking life. I try to love on everybody, because again, it's not about me. It's about the purpose that God has put in me. But you got to be more than just talk. If you're not out in the street encouraging a young person, you see them on the corner and you roll your eyes and look at them, go out. When I walk in my neighborhood, they go, oh my God, that's Miss Tori. They already know. You can't curse in front of my house. You can't have all this loud, crazy ruckus in front of my house. Kiana, I tell you, we were outside my house 11 o'clock the other night, 2 little boys on a hoverboard Stop. Put me on the hoverboard. I'm not that much older than you, but I want you to see me as someone you can approach. I want you to understand that this idea of wealth or whatever it is that you look and you assume you can attain. How do we do that? We do that by getting tapped in. When you came to the event, you came to Tabba Tabba. Tabba Tabba is a coffee and dessert bar that Kiana and I are now a part of, with owner Eartha Harris and Mark Fuller and Omar Smith. Just want to shout all of them out. They have such an awesome idea of community. We got to get back to community. There used to be a time when you had the bread, I had the cheese.
Right.
She had the milk, somebody else bought the greens. And on Sundays, our streets were clean. On Sundays, we knew where our children were. There wasn't no whole bunch of ruckus and people weren't getting murdered in the street and we just go, oh, that's another one, and roll over. We have to be the example of what the earth means.
Right.
That's who I am right now.
So I had to ask you a question. And my phone is so far away that I can't even see if there's any questions being asked now on there. It's amazing to be able to wake up every day and empower other people.
Right.
It's amazing.
Uh-huh.
It's a burden.
Keep it
You
real.
know? Yeah, you don't want to.
Yes.
I had a conversation with this guy and I asked him, how does he feel about his gifts? And he said he's thankful.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? How do you get to that place of being thankful for this?
Ooh.
So he said, I am thankful to be thankful just to be thankful.
Oh, wow.
And I have been repeating that to myself for the
good.
last
I'm gonna get a
about
t-shirt.
2 months. I am thankful to be thankful just to be thankful.
That's good.
And so I'm trying. I'm not trying. I'm trying to get. I'm getting that word out of my my dictionary.
Yes.
I am working on being thankful to be thankful to be thankful.
Right.
But it is a burden to wake up every day and know that there's someone else that's going to pull on you.
Yes.
That you have to open your mouth and speak to this person because they need you at this moment.
Yeah.
But the flip side, like I said before, that our first ministry has to be ourselves.
Yes.
So what are you doing
For myself.
for yourself?
So, well, and that's funny because for years I ran from myself, right? A part of the pain and what I thought the process was adding more stuff to staying very busy, right? But if you've ever had the flu or pneumonia or gotten sick, you'll understand that God will show you all the areas that you need to address in your weakened state, right? So a couple of years ago, I think I may have shared with you, they thought I had cancer. And I was 31 years old. And, you know, again, I know we got short time. So to kind of speed through the whole story, I had a 5-6-year-old and I was 31 and I could have had cancer. And this cancer could have taken me out. That was the first time God said to me, you got to look at you. You don't spend time with you. You don't date you. You don't. I didn't even take baths. You know, the baths. I got to the shower. You know, I'm not a funky girl, but I didn't take baths where I just sat and thought and journaled. And so my word of encouragement to anybody that's listening is don't think because you're busy, you're being productive. Don't think because you're busy, you're being powerful. So if I talk about what I do, I date myself. I have scheduled time in my phone, if I even forget, to turn it off, to shut it off. I don't watch TV. I keep those distractions very low, but I keep my world surrounded in positivity. I stay affirmed up. I have affirmations everywhere. I had in my old office, I had affirmations taped to the floor in Greek and Hebrew because nobody else needed to know what it said but me and God. It's so important to have that balance. Right now, one of the major things for me was getting back in school. So being a full-time mom, a full-time entrepreneur, a full-time employee still, and a full-time student. I said, God, how am I going to do this? He said, lean on his understanding, not my own. I'm not leaning on my understanding. I'm leaning on God's. Because the fact that people even come to me and ask me for my help and my advice is supernatural. Like, y'all want it from me? Are you kidding me? But so it's important to have goals. It was always my desire to start my own school. When I first founded Theo, well, actually, Theo was called something else 5 years ago, and I relaunched and, took some time to really just figure out what my mission statement was. My mission statement is, empowering entrepreneurs to help them have a platform to network, build, and grow. Well, it's greater than that, right? Theo we'll have a school. My school will be for adult learning, adult education. We're going to be teaching soft skills training, which I already teach. I'm just not in the building.
Right.
We'll be talking about conflict management. We'll be helping people pass their GED proficiencies. We'll be giving English as a second language. But how do I get there? Because that's my goal. I get there by going to school. So the fact that I found this program, Towson was excited to have me. Everything's falling right into place. And I'm going to do this joint program. It's a 4-year program, and I'll come out with 2 degrees. Who doesn't want to do that? That's what I'm doing for me. So on those days when I may not have anything to pour out, I'm allowing the knowledge to pour in. I'm allowing the positivity to pour in. I call you, I call Kiana, I call whomever to talk and to get me right, because the hardest thing in the world is to be strong for everyone else and not be able to be strong for yourself, or not feel like you can have a weak moment. But don't you know God will break you down? And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make this a church session, but I have to give him honor and I have to give him acknowledgement, because even though we go out in the world, you might see me in a bar, we talked about that. You might see me even having some road rage. I ain't perfect, but I know who has me here. And I know that if it was not for him sustaining and giving me purpose, that none of this would have been. So my son and I, we go on vacation. Baby, we turn the phone off. Even some days at home, turn the phone off. The best thing in the world to do is say, hey, I got to go, and put the phone in the purse. You don't hear it vibrating enough. It's amazing. You should try it. I do that, and I get dressed with no interruptions. And just that time to take on myself, it rejuvenates me. I also am not looking at things so grandiose anymore. You can't be thankful when you're looking at this mountain. But when I'm looking at the mountain from the base, from step 1, and I went from step 1 to step 2, I can be thankful. My gratitude flows, because guess what? I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't care what's over there. Did I make this first step? Yes, high five, girl. I encourage myself.
Yes, celebrate every step.
Because if you don't, you won't be fortified for when you get to the top of the mountain and you say, oh, I remember what it felt like when I was broke on step 3. I remember what it felt like when I was hungry at step 5. I remember what it felt like when my car was repossessed at step 7. I remember what it felt like when my best friend betrayed me at step 9, because you was just trying to run up the mountain.
Right.
You gotta take it in small, sizable chunks. And if you don't, it'll consume you.
Right.
You won't get to the mountain top and be exhausted.
Right. Okay.
Yes,
All right. Well, we are definitely over 30 minutes. I don't have my glasses on. I know it's over 30 minutes.
Okay.
I just want to thank you so much for being here. You all, if you do not know who Tori Rose is, please take the moment. I will add her link to this video. Just take a moment and support this young lady, what she's doing in and for our community. We're right here in 5 minutes from DC. She's in Baltimore. But support is support. I don't care if she was in California, it's still support. I don't know if you have a website. Do you have a website?
I do. I just want to do my shout outs real quick. I want to say thank you to everybody, especially my team, Kiana B. Jones, the Beehive Connected group. You can find us all on Instagram and Facebook. I want to encourage you to go to my website, which is www.theo.LLC.com, and Theo stands for Together Helping Each Other Overcome. Theo, we focus again on giving you those skills that you need, the interviews, the resumes, the marketing. We focus on a lot of different things, but as you know, gifts are gifts. So people will come to me for their resume, walk out with marriage advice, because gifts are gifts. But Theo.com, you can follow our upcoming events. We are having a crab feast on September 16th at Tab. I would love for you to come. It's going to be actually called Convos and Crabs, or Crabs and Convos. Okay. So we're going to eat, we're going to have a good old time, but we still going to network, because we have to stay together, connected as a tight knit. So I'll make sure I share that information with you. I want to say one last thing again to my mama. Hey, Gammy girl. To everybody who tuned in, thank you guys. I would be nothing without you guys. And I just thank you, and I love you all for just letting me be vulnerable and unapologetically me.
All right, so again, you all please, thank you for being here. This is not an easy thing. It's not easy at all for anyone to just be transparent and be open. It takes vulnerability. You open yourselves up to be judged, to be ridiculed, to be you just open yourself up. So it's not easy at all. So I appreciate you for being here, for being transparent, for being honest, for sharing the love of God with everyone. No, it's fine. I tell people all the time, I curse and I praise God too. It's just who I am.
That's my balance.
Look, you just either accept it or you don't. You don't have to be.
You know I'm a ninja, and He loved me and my ninjaism.
Right.
Yes.
So if you just be yourselves. You don't have to be perfect. I think, and this is, I promise I'm not going to keep you all too much longer, but I spent so much of my life trying to be perfect. It does not exist. You can try every day, all day long. It doesn't exist. All you're going to do is wear yourself out.
That's right.
You're going to wear yourself out trying to please everybody, trying to please what you think you need for yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. What exists is, I can't curse on here.
Spell it out. Give us the first and last letter.
Fuckups. That's what exists. Our screw ups.
Yeah,
they exist.
That's right.
They exist. But perfection, it does not exist.
No, that's not a P that we subscribe to.
Yeah, right. So just let it go. Every day, just wake up. I'm going to be the best me that I can be today.
That's right.
That's it. That's all. Right. Make sure that when you close your eyes at night, that you were the best you that you could have possibly been that day.
Right.
That's it. That's all.
That's right.
Don't worry about the things the hiccups that happened during that day. Don't worry about who you couldn't please that day. Don't worry about the mistakes that you made that day. Go to bed knowing that you were the best you that you could have possibly been. Yeah. I promise you'll sleep better throughout the night. Right. And then you'll wake up the next day ready.
Yep.
Whatever happened the day before, that was yesterday. Right. Today is the day, and we're going to move forward today, and I'm going to be the best me that I can possibly be today, and tomorrow I'm going to be the best me that I can possibly be for tomorrow. But today, perfection does not exist.
Yes. And Sean, if I could say this, just get out of other people's gardens. When you stop comparing your roses to their roses and your tulips to their tulips, I don't care about what's going on to the left or right of me when it comes down to measuring myself against other people. We fail because we look at where they are and we're trying to figure out how they got to where they are. And then we measure where we thought we would be to where we are. Get out of other people's gardens.
Yes, ma'am.
Throw that in there.
Go till your own garden.
Right. Yeah.
You'll be more successful. You'll be more happy. You'll be more at peace.
Yes.
You just got to focus on the things that are consuming and that belongs to you. Thank you all for tuning in from Pain to Power. I will see you all next Wednesday. Please remember that your pain's only purpose is to birth your power. See y'all next week.